here we go. Great. So I hope you can all see my screen and hear me. And I'm going to look this week at different approaches to suit contracts involving ruffing, cross-ruffing, or maybe just ruffing in one hand, or maybe just drawing trumps. And I thought I'd start with this hand here, which was an actual hand that was played some months ago. And a lot of people ended up in two spades on this contract. So South would open two spades. If West overcalls two diamonds and North bids two hearts, comes back round to South, who maybe just bids two spades, and maybe that ends the contract. So here you are in a two-spade contract. And before we look at this hand from declarer's point of view, let's have a look at the West hand and see if you can tell me what you think you might lead on this hand. I've got a poll coming out, and the question is, you're on lead here, and which card do you think you should lead? Have a little think about it. And here comes the poll, and the question is, what do you think you should lead? And a very wide variation. Most popular response was the Ace of Hearts, and there are votes for a club, a diamond, the King of Hearts, or a trump. So let's switch back and see what we think. Well, I will tell you that when this hand was played, most people led a heart. And obviously the point of leading a heart is that you hope to get a ruff. It's a slightly risky lead in the sense that North has bid two hearts, so you may be helping them set up their heart suit. But if you do lead a heart, the correct heart to lead is not the ace, but the king. So normally you lead the ace from ace king, but in a suit contract, if you decide to lead from an ace king doubleton, the normal play is to lead the king, following it up with the ace, and that is a specific message to your partner that you started with a doubleton. So if you're going to lead a heart, which has some attraction there, lead the king. So let's suppose you do lead a heart, the King of Hearts, and let's now switch to having a look at this from declarer's point of view. And we can see we've got not a great fit in spades. We've got 7 spades, although we've got the ace, king, queen. We've got 1 heart in my hand, and we've got some diamonds, the ace there, but we've got a nice club holding. Now, there are different ways you can think about this hand. You can plan on ruffing or seeing if you're going to ruff the losers. But it's often a good idea to start off by thinking how many tricks you're likely to make. So if the missing cards, the missing suits, divide evenly, or sorry, divide in not evenly, but in the most common way, how many tricks do you think you might make? So have a think about that. Think how the missing cards might be divided. What's the most likely division? And how many tricks overall would that lead to you making? So that is the second poll for you. If the cards divide as evenly as you, as normal, how many tricks do you think you're likely to be able to make here? So let me launch that second poll. So the most popular response was 9, with votes for 8, 7, and 10. So let's switch back and see what we think about it. Well, let's look at the trump suit. We've got 7 trump, including the ace, king, queen. Sorry, this is the one I was looking at. We've got 7 trump, including the ace, king, queen. Now, if we were very lucky and the missing 6 trumps divided 3-3, we would make all 5 spades. We've got 5 tricks there. More likely than not, though, they're going to divide 4-2. That's more common. And in that case, we'll lose a spade, but we'll still make 4 spades. We're not going to make any hearts. And we've got the ace of diamonds. That's so that's 5 tricks. So we had 4 spades, 1 diamond, and in clubs we would hope to make 4 tricks. We've got the ace, king, queen, jack. If we can make 4 tricks before the opponent can make enough tricks to stop us making all those 4 tricks, we'll come to a total of 9 tricks. So yes, most of the time you would hope to make 9 tricks here on this one. And I'm actually going to have a look at how this hand was played 3 different times. And this was how it was played the first time. So they led hearts, and Declarer ruffed the second round. Then Declarer on this hand started drawing trumps. They played the king, the ace, everyone followed so far, and then they played the queen, West discarded, and East followed. So this is the normal distribution you would expect in spades, that East now has 1 more trump outstanding, and it's a high trump. So of course you mustn't draw it, just leave it out and let them ruff with it whenever they want. Then what happened was this Declarer now started cashing their winners. So they started with 3 clubs. And on the 3rd club, East ruffed. But East, if they play a heart or whatever they play now, you can ruff a heart, and now you've still got a diamond to get to dummy to cash your last club and make the 9 tricks you were hoping for. After that, you won't make any more, but you'll make 9 tricks on that one, and that turned out to be a good score for North-South. It was played in some other ways too, and this Declarer played it rather differently. So they started off here ruffing the second heart, and this Declarer decided to try to ruff hearts. And ruffing hearts means ruffing in the hand with the long trump suit, and that rarely leads to more tricks. And in fact, as you'll see in a moment on this one, it leads to you losing control of trump. And I see this happen so many times when I'm watching bridge being played. People have a shortage in their hand, as here with hearts, and they decide to ruff hearts. And although that can be a good strategy on some hands, on many hands it isn't. And this is what happened to this Declarer. She crossed back over to a diamond and played a heart back, ruffed that one, but unfortunately it was over-ruffed. West now cashed a diamond. The partner played the queen, so they played another diamond. And here, I think you can see again that if Declarer ruffs with a low spade, it will get over. This particular Declarer ruffed high, so West discarded something. And now, if you see the hand, South is in real trouble here because they've got their clubs they'd like to cash, but they're never going to be able to draw trumps now. So they start maybe drawing trumps, play another round of trumps, but now they've just got 1 trump left, and East has got 2 good trumps over there. So this Declarer now turned their attention to clubs, tried to cash some clubs, but East was able to ruff, draw that last trump, and then cash the queen and jack of hearts. So instead of making 9 tricks there, this Declarer just made 6 tricks. They lost control of trump, and they tried to ruff hearts, which, although you can ruff hearts, you're weakening your trump holding by ruffing in the long hand. And it led to 3 fewer tricks than you might otherwise make. I'll have a look at this one played one other way, which is how someone else played it. And this 3rd Declarer actually tried to ruff diamonds in dummy. So it can be a good idea to ruff in the shorthand here, ruff using the spades in dummy. The only thing here is that based on the bidding, if West overcalled 2 diamonds, it's very likely that East is short in diamonds. So if you do try to ruff diamonds, they may well get over ruffed. So it turned out not to be a winning approach on this hand. So again, if they start off with hearts, which you ruff, this declarer crossed to the ace of diamonds, led a diamond back, okay, and then when a heart was played, if South ruffs low, it got over ruffed, and West on this hand played a trump back here, which declarer was able to win. But now you can see again, South has really lost control of trumps. South's only got 2 trumps in their hand, and if they try to draw trumps at this point, they will be out of trumps themselves, and there's still a trump in the East hand. So if they now try to cash clubs, West is able to ruff and cash 2 hearts. So this one did a little better, making 7 tricks here. But really, the best approach on this hand was to try to take your 9 tricks just by drawing 3 top rounds of trumps and then trying to cash your remaining tricks. And the clue that you don't really want to play the diamonds is that, first of all, you're not going to be able to ruff very much in the north hand, or if you do ruff with the king, it's significantly weakening your trump holding. So this hand was probably best just to play trumps and then try and cash your remaining tricks to make 9 tricks. Let's have a look at another one here. This time, North opens 1 diamond. South here, you bid 1 spade. North rebids 2 diamonds, and you show your second suit 2 hearts. North bids 3 hearts, and you raise to 4 hearts. And the opponents lead a club. They lead the 4 of clubs. And I'd like you to try to make a plan about how you're going to play this hand. And your options are going to be, well, let's suppose you win this first trick with the ace or king. What are you going to do then? Are you going to draw the opponent's trumps? Or are you going to aim to ruff spades in dummy? Or maybe you're going to ruff diamonds in your own hand? Or maybe you're going to crossruff the spades and ruff the spades and diamonds. What do you think the best approach is on this hand? So I'm launching that 3rd poll in a moment, and your choice is how you're going to play this hand. Are you going to ruff spades in dummy, ruff diamonds in your hand, crossruff, or are you just going to draw trumps? Let's have a look at what you've chosen. And the most popular responses for crossruffing, which was 59%, and other responses for drawing trumps first, or ruffing spades, or ruffing diamonds. So let's switch back and have a think about this. Well, if you count up how many tricks you expect to make, imagine you were playing this in no trump, you can count 1 spade, 4 hearts, 2 diamonds, and 2 clubs. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tricks there. But we can do much better on this hand by ruffing. And actually, the best approach here is to crossruff, I think. We have the ideal trump holding in each hand. We've got high trumps in each hand, except for the 3 in dummy and the 2 of hearts in our own hand. And we also don't have a long side suit. Apart from the spades and the diamonds, we just have 2 clubs. So this kind of hand lends itself really well to cross-ruffing, never drawing trumps, and just trying to make trumps tricks with your trumps individually. So that's what I'm going to do on this hand. I'm going to win the first trick, and let's suppose I shift to a spade, because I'm going to plan to ruff spades. I lead a spade. I'm going to start by ruffing with a low trump here. and I'm going to play the diamonds. Now, because I'm going to cross ruff here and not draw trumps, I'm going to cash the ace and king of diamonds. I can discard a club on that, and then play another diamond. And this is probably the most risky part coming up, ruffing with a low trump. And if you get away with that, now you're in great shape because you've got just high trump in both hands. And we're going to be able to continue cross ruffing. Just again, before we finish, before we keep ruffing, we're going to cash any side winners, the ace of clubs here, and then we're going to cross ruff. We can ruff the spades, we can ruff the diamonds, ruff another spade, ruff another diamond, and ruff the last spade. And at the end, we'll ruff the last club and we'll make all 13 tricks there. So we basically were able to make extra tricks by cross ruffing. And most people, you know, this is the kind of hand that a lot of people are drawn to cross ruffing, and it works out very well on this hand. But just because you have a shortage in both hands, dummy and your own hand, doesn't mean that cross ruffing is necessarily the best approach. Let's have a look at this hand here, where you open one club, west overcalls a spade, and north doubles. That is a negative double showing the other two suits, diamonds and hearts. And in particular, it should be showing exactly a 4-card heart suit. So south, you can support your partner's hearts. I think even though you've got only 14 points with that singleton, you should jump to show more than a minimum, and you end up in 4 hearts. And the opponents lead the ace of spades. And I've got the same question coming up as I asked you on the previous hand. What's going to be your approach on this hand? You've got spades, you could ruff it in dummy. You've got diamonds, you could ruff in your own hand. Or you could cross ruff spades and diamonds, or you could just plan to draw the opponent's 3 trumps, presumably first. So that's the question I'm going to launch now. It's the last poll of the evening, and it is, how do you plan to play this hand? Let's suppose, just to take it one step forward, they win their ace of spades and lead the queen of diamonds. So how do you plan to play this hand? You'll plan to ruff diamonds in your own hand and ruff spades in dummy, or do you plan to cross ruff, or do you plan to just draw trumps? And the majority here has gone for drawing trumps first, with the smaller number going for ruffing diamonds or for ruffing spades. No one suggested cross ruffing. And I agree with the fact that you haven't gone for cross ruffing here. Even though this hand looks a bit like the previous hand, what's different about it is you have 4 clubs you'd like to cash. And if you don't draw the opponent's trumps, you will never be able to cash those clubs. You'll only be able to cash probably just 2 of those clubs before they ruff. So you do want to ultimately draw trumps on this hand, but rather than draw trumps right away, we should be thinking about making extra tricks by ruffing our losers before we draw the trumps. And the choice is between ruffing spades in dummy, which we could try to do, or ruffing diamonds in our own hand, but not ruffing both, not cross ruffing. In other words, what we're going to do here is use one hand to draw the opponent's trumps and the other hand for ruffing, to make extra tricks by ruffing. And I think it's much more attractive to aim to ruff diamonds in your hand rather than spades in dummy. For one thing, based on that bidding, West has got a long spade suit. So if we try to ruff spades, unless we ruff high, there's a risk of them being over-ruffed. Whereas if we try to ruff diamonds, we have basically, if we look at it from the point of view of the north hand, we have 2 diamond losers. And if we could ruff 2 of those, then we would avoid all the diamond losers. So that's, I think, the safer approach. Ruffing spades, you're more in danger of getting over ruffed based on the bidding. And ruffing diamonds, I think, is a little bit safer. So that's what I'm going to do. And sorry, if I go back to the beginning before we played any spades, the other thing is you have slightly fewer diamonds. You only have sorry, it's actually the sorry, you have the same number of diamonds. You have 4-1 distribution and 4-1 distribution there. But yeah, the problem with ruffing spades is they well over ruffed unless you ruff high. So I think ruffing diamonds is safer here, and that's what we're going to try to do. Our goal on this hand is to ruff those 2 diamonds and make 2 extra tricks that way. So if they lead a diamond, we're going to win that. And let's have a look at this played different ways. This is how it might be played if you were planning to do a cross ruff. So you would maybe lead a diamond, discarding a spade perhaps, then play another diamond, which you ruff. I'll bring up the 4 hands at this point so you can see what's going on. Now, if I try to ruff a spade, I can succeed in that. But if I try to ruff another diamond, even if I guess correctly to ruff high, because you can see a low ruff with the 10 or the 8 would get over ruffed. If I keep plugging away ruffing spades here, what you've done is you've shortened your trump holding, and you've only got 2 trump in each hand now. And again, you've lost control of trump. So if you now try to cash your clubs, you won't be able to cash them before the opponents get in with a ruff. And let's suppose they play a spade here, which we can ruff. But again, we're running out of trumps here, and we've got fewer trumps than the opponents. So the opponents will hold us to 10 tricks here. That's if we try to ruff, if we try to cross ruff. So as I was saying, a much better approach here is just to ruff in one hand. And I think it's going to work out easier to ruff the diamond. So let's do that. Play this again slightly differently. We win the ace of diamonds, and we immediately try to ruff a diamond. So we ruff that one low. We now want to get back to dummy so that we can ruff another diamond. And we can do that with a trump because we only want to ruff one more time. So we play another diamond and we ruff that one with the 10. Now we've ruffed the diamonds, we just want to draw trumps and cash our winners. So we'll play the ace of hearts, and there's still a trump out, and it's slightly awkward to get to the north hand to draw it. But given that you know there's only one trump out, you hope to be able to get there with a spade ruff. Now, I'm not leading spades here to gain extra tricks. I'm just leading spades because it's the only easy way to get to the north hand. And as long as I'm fortunate and able to ruff that, I can now draw that last trump and cash my remaining winners. And I can make all the remaining tricks and make 12 tricks on this one. Whereas I think you can see if you try to ruff spades, you'd be more in danger of being over ruffed because East is short in spades. Although it turns out here East has only got low spades, so you might be all right with that strategy. I think it's safer to ruff the diamonds in your hand. The other thing you don't want to do on this hand before you start ruffing the diamonds is to cash the ace and the king. A lot of people do this, and it's a mistake. Let's see what happens if you do that here. So we play the ace of diamonds, you cash the king of diamonds, discarding a spade, let's say. Because now when you play the diamonds, you're more in danger of an over-ruff. So you can ruff the first one. Then you play as before to get to dummy with the king of hearts. Play another diamond. But now, unless you ruff here with the ace, you will get over-ruffed. Okay? They can ruff that. If they play a spade now, you can ruff that one in dummy. And you want to draw trumps still here. So you play the ace, and now you're in a bit of a pickle because there's still a trump out and you're going to struggle to draw it. In other words, if you were to play a spade now, you could ruff it, but you'd ruff it with your last trump, and they would make a trick with the 5 of hearts. So it's very awkward now. So you may just cash as many winners as you can, but at some point they're going to ruff with a 5 of hearts and hold you to 10 tricks on this one, whereas you made 12 tricks if you're able to ruff the 2 diamonds. So just to reiterate the difference in the approach here, if we were going to do a cross ruff and we had ace king of diamonds, we would cash the ace and king first. But if all we're going to do is ruff 2 diamonds, draw trumps, and then play our diamonds, cash our winners, then it's better not to play the ace and the king, just the ace, and then ruff as quickly as you can to give yourself the best chance of being able to ruff with low trump there. Anyone have any comments or questions on that? Just to summarize then, I would say generally don't ruff in the hand with a long trump suit without a good reason. So good reasons could be that you're playing to cross ruff a hand, sometimes that you're establishing a long suit by ruffing, or sometimes ruffing to get back to the master hand so that you can draw trumps. And it's really important on hands where there's a possibility of ruffing to think about what's the best option, cross-ruffing or making one hand the master hand and just ruffing in the other hand. Anyway, that's it for this evening. Anyone have any questions on any of that? If not, I'll end the talk there.